Hey guys, what's going on? Mouse here. So I posted a video 2 hours ago about my test on the A7 Gold-tailed Fox in actual combat, but I tested it, but this was in POS 20. So I made the crucial mistakes and apologize for that. I actually did not know that there was a debuff on this Proof of the Strong at level 10 if you equip a weapon or element that is the monster's strength. So let me just show it to you. Decrease the damage dealt when equipping a weapon that has the dungeon's elemental strength. So I'm gonna do the retest now. So some of you guys probably did not see the video yet, but I'm just gonna give you a quick recap on what has happened and what I have talked about in the video. So firstly, we're gonna test a couple of weapons here. The Gold-tailed Fox combo with Divine Quarterstaff, and then we're gonna use the Plum sword as well as the Moonshadow. Plus, I'm not gonna test the Demon Knight Spear anymore. It's still A3, and I think there's gonna be possibly gonna be a huge difference between the performance of A3 and A5. So I'll probably just retest this some other time. So in my first video, if you guys have seen it, we only focused on how the Golden Wound effect works, and we've got some information or new hypothesis on why it's not really dealing huge damage output as we expected. This is something that BRR brought up. So this light damage here might not actually be the same as the light damage element here that we're getting from the buffs, from the passives, etc. And according to him, this might actually be the like the skill damage, light skill damage. And in that case, if that is like a skill damage multiplier, then it will be additive to other skill damage increase, and in that case there will be a diminishing return. So this light damage might be different, so we're not sure about that, but based on the damage that we're getting, like if you guys have seen my videos, it's not giving the expected damage output of the charged heavenly order strike. So this is the setup that we're going to use now on Song Jinwoo. We got 22k attack, crit rate 7.6k, crit damage, defense penetration damage increase there, light damage, and I readjusted the stats and lowered it for the Proof of the Strong level 9 because we can't go beyond level 9. What we're gonna do now instead is to check the kill speed and how long it would take us to finish this stage using the various weapons that we're gonna test now. So we're still gonna use the sharp perception because crit rate is gonna be a problem on this, and then reawakening steel, double-edged sword, and bloodlust. So for the skills, we're gonna use multi-shadow strike because we are expecting that future game content would at least require something that has almighty break, although we can also use the earth shock because this adds critical hit damage by 50%. At least from what I'm expecting, we would need at least like almighty break for faster breaking in. And then we're gonna use, of course, Sonic Stream, double down. So we're gonna test this in actual combat with all of these things, blessing stone skills, because that's what's more important in this case, on how they would synergize with all the skills and etc. So this is the setup of the hunters. I had to reduce the total power as well, so maybe we can add a bit more to get into 702k just so that we would get like equal amount. I think 706k is okay. So shadows, we're not gonna use them, only the passives for crit rate. Yeah, I think this should be fine for now. We're gonna do this like a couple of times and see how long it will take us to clear this stage. All right, so let's begin. So the combo here is actually something that I already reviewed in the previous video, wherein you can stun the enemy, control it with the stun of the Gold-tailed Fox, and then you're gonna charge the Divine Quarterstaff afterwards. And let's go. Again, combination. Quarterstaff. Boom. Almost down. I think it's gonna go to the break phase, so let's just save the break here. And another combo. Oh, we missed. Fuck. Alright, so down 1 minute and 6 seconds, I think. We're gonna have to repeat that again a couple more times. I think you can do it next. So 141. Let's just do 3 times. There, 205. So with the perfect rotation, we can kill it like in less than a minute. Pretty good. Yeah. Yeah. So less than a minute around. I think that's the like the average with the correct gameplay. So what we did in the previous video is that we had to change the sharp perception to the swiftness because this is POS 9. There's still gonna be that debuff wherein it's gonna increase the dash cooldown. Things like this, especially with the Plum, wherein our DPS is gonna heavily rely on doing that dash amplifying draw plus the skill or plus the weapon. So we're gonna have to change this, or maybe we can actually keep that or just change the double-edged swords. It's kind of not fair, of course, but we just want to see how this one will perform now in POS 9 without the debuff at POS 10. Alright, Plum Sword first. So one of the problems that we notice on using Plum Sword is, of course, it will rely too much on dashes. And sometimes you're not going to have all the dashes in the world because you have to dodge. There are certain mechanics as well that we need to avoid. But the damage now is actually much better relatively to the initial test we did in the video. So this should be more accurate now. Let's try it. Let's check it out. Let's go. Oops. It's almost the same now, actually. Probably. We just missed that one, and we missed this as well, so we're gonna have to... Of course, we're gonna have to redo the attempts, but yeah, that's also one of the problems when using Plum Sword. You don't have any controller stun. 139. That's just skill issue. We have no more dashes. Alright. On. The same, like they're almost the same now. Yeah. So if we didn't make some mistakes there, I think they're gonna be almost the same. So let's try the Moonshadow plus Plum Sword next. So we're gonna use the Moonshadow and the Plum Sword now, but do remember that this is A10 and this is A9. We're gonna see the difference for sure if there's gonna be a lot of difference. If there's no difference, then we're gonna notice that as well. Don't worry about the dark damage resistance because if there's gonna be like, that's gonna be very minimal in this case. Alright. Ooh. Really high damage there. Can't use the multi-shadow strike anymore. $212. What? Yeah, that's one of the problems. You don't have skill anymore. Okay, let's go. Let me kill it now. Yeah, this is almost the same as the Plum Sword plus the staff. Okay. Here it is. It should die now. So same time, 154. Alright, so I'm gonna record that. Hold on. Alright, so let's just check out some of the results that we got here. But before we do, just a disclaimer, guys. So this test is very specific to my account, so use this only as a guide because there are so many variables involved here, but at least this would give us an insight on how these weapons will perform and how they can be played and what are the bad things or the good things about them. So we're going to talk about those as well, and I'm going to share my thoughts on them. So firstly, what I have noticed is that their damage is quite close, though some of the runs had some skill issues and errors, but overall, the difference is something that's not really that noticeable, because in the previous test there was this is the previous test, but there were big differences. So the POS 10 actually made a huge difference, but now with the POS 9, in the time to kill, we got 105, 54, 56, 105, 106, 104, 105. Oh, except for this one, which is really, really bad. So at least with that, I think we can say that the damage is quite close and competitive. However, there is a major difference when it comes to the gameplay. And I think when it comes to the A7 Foxtail plus A5 Quarterstaff, the gameplay was actually quite smooth, and that's because I actually didn't know this before. There is actually a stun 2 seconds paralyze on the Foxtail skill. So with this weapon, you will have time to set up your next big skill, which is gonna be the Divine Quarterstaff. We have enough time to charge that without getting interrupted. So this might be useful on certain monsters or occasions like that where it's always running around. So this one reduces the error in terms of gameplay. Even if you waste this, for example, in the enemy's dodge, you will still not lose your big skill because you cannot miss on this. Although you have the opportunity to use the dash and you're gonna remove the cooldown, that means you can cancel the charge, but that's gonna be a bit difficult to execute in actual combat, but you guys can practice that, of course. Ultimately, I think these weapons have really good synergy. And for the A9 Plum plus A5 Quarterstaff, this is something that's, the damage is okay, of course, it's there, but again, the problem is like there's no CC, there's no stun, there's no there's nothing that will help you secure your damage. There's no time stop, so that is the bigger problem here. But in terms of damage, I don't think there is gonna be much difference. There is difference, of course, probably just slight difference, but it's still very competitive. I've had more problems when it comes to like trying to hit the boss. But for the A9 Plum plus A10 Moonshadow, I think this one is so easy to play. Of course, there is a time stamp, and it's very important to be able to get that Sonic Stream in. Although, just to take note that when you're using Moonshadow and two support weapons like Moonshadow plus Plum Sword, you gotta have a very strong skill. So this kind of setup will rely on whether or not your Sonic Stream is actually good, because let's say you have a lower rarity, then the damage will not be as high. That's just gonna be like 160% if I remember correctly on heroic, so that will be a factor too. So in that case, you might want to just use a damage oriented weapon, one support and one damage, and then you have two skills. I think this should be enough for now to see and establish that the Foxtail is very competitive in terms of damage when it comes to light element weakness, and the Plum Sword is also a decent option, but I think it's very hard to play if you partner it with Quarterstaff, and even with the Demon Knight Spear, I think it's not gonna be good. And then for the A9 Plum plus A10 Moonshadow, yeah, I think it's still good. I think it's still one of the best options right now because there is time stop. makes things easier. But again, all of these situational, depending on what game content is gonna come soon, whether it's hard to target the enemies or maybe they're not that hard to target, maybe we need to stun them, we don't know. But at least for now, we can use all of these combinations, and yeah, I think I'm gonna love this. The gameplay of this, actually, it's quite an interesting gameplay. Stun and then burst damage. That's really good and satisfying for me. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it for this video. And again, I apologize for the first video that we posted. I really didn't know that there was that debuff on POS 10. So thank you again to Daniel. So that's what we do here, and it's good that you guys are pointing that out so that we can get a more accurate results or more accurate comparison and representation of whatever we're trying to test in the game. All right, so that's it. Thanks so much, and see you in the next one.